1,300 years ago, a group of 3 warriors fought against a horde of monsters that did not seem to diminish, as they kept appearing one after another. Panic filled them as the spawning of the Calamity Demon, the so-called disaster god, could begin at any moment if they continued to be careless and got defeated. Magre, the team's leader, thought that they would not make it this time either. With no other choice, he considered offering their lives to seal the Calamity Demon. Just then, another member of the team, Liam, stepped forward and cast a spell that protected them from the horde of monsters they were fighting. The spell created a massive crater from the explosion, eradicating all the monsters in its wake. He smiled confidently and asked the team why they were struggling against such weak demons. The group was shocked by the power of his attack after he had wiped out the Calamity Demon's fiends in one overwhelming strike. One of them admitted that his ability was exceptional among the 100-man unit, but the spell he had just cast was on an entirely different level. Liam casually revealed that he had taken the 108th ability and made it his own. This revelation shocked the team, but the Calamity Demon's underlings continued to spawn, appearing one after another. With this, Liam activated another spell and annihilated the swarm of demons, shocking his team once again, as he now seemed like the very embodiment of an omnipotent being or an absolute king. He led the team, telling them that he would defeat the Calamity Demon by himself. He told them to stay behind him for safety as he walked to the end of the cliff. Standing on the edge, he looked down and saw the Calamity Demon in its entirety. The demon was currently giving birth to a swarm of monsters that devoured humans. Knowing that they would endanger humanity, Liam swore that he would not let the monsters be mass-produced and eradicated them while they were being birthed. He then dragged the demon out of the cliff to fight it directly. The demon attacked him with immense power, but Liam cast another spell to neutralize the attack. Their powers clashed, causing an immense explosion. Every 300 years, the Calamity Demon appeared, and the man-eating monsters it spawned posed a grave threat to humanity. To protect humankind, the warriors of the 100-man unit were tasked with exterminating the Calamity Demon. They were reincarnated every 300 years to coincide with the demon's revival, risking their lives to seal it once again. The Calamity Demon roared as Liam's attacks began to take their toll on its body. He believed that merely sealing it was an old-fashioned method that did not truly solve the problem. So, he decided to use his omnipotent power, a combination of 108 abilities that could only be unleashed once to annihilate the demon completely. However, in a shocking turn of events, a powerful attack suddenly pierced through his heart. Severed from different parts of his body, it was as if his attacker wanted to ensure that he would not survive. Magra then picked him up, his voice filled with pain as he asked why his teammate had betrayed him. Magra told him that he could not allow the Calamity Demon to be killed. He wanted to take the 108 powers for himself and place a curse on Liam to prevent his reincarnation. He then threw the Absolute King to the ground and attacked him again, making sure he was finished. Along with the Calamity Demon, he planned to seal Liam into the abyss. Kicking him off the cliff, Liam fell into the darkness with severed limbs. The other warriors rejoiced at his misery while Magre threw all the man-eating monsters into the abyss with Liam and sealed it. After sealing the Calamity Demon, the 100-man unit perished and was reincarnated, just as their existence dictated. In truth, the unit never wanted the Calamity Demon to die and achieve true peace in the world. Their goal was to ensure their reincarnation every 300 years. If the demon were truly eradicated, that cycle would end. Because of this, Liam could do nothing but remain trapped with the Calamity Demon, being eaten alive. The Calamity Demon bared its teeth, and for a creature with such low intelligence, its sadistic tendencies were terrifying. Cursed with immortality by Magre, Liam could not die, even as he was trampled on and devoured again and again by the Calamity Demon's offspring. He lived in absolute torment, enduring excruciating pain that pierced through his very soul. Even when his organs were torn out or his flesh was devoured, his body regenerated instantly. 1,200 years later, Liam was still alive, though his body was imprinted with the marks of hundreds of the Calamity Demon's offspring. Though technically alive, he was as good as dead, corrupted by the demons that had been feasting on him for millennia. He barely kept himself sane by clinging to his desire for revenge against the traitors who had imprisoned him in this hell. He vowed to rise again and exact vengeance on those who betrayed him. Just then, a powerful white light shines on him, followed by a voice calling him to return to his vessel. With this, his body glows with a bright light, and when he opens his eyes, he is lying on the ground inside the body of a young man. He suddenly smells filth and realizes that his vessel has just thrown up. As he tries to stand up, a group of students laugh at him for still being down. They discuss whether he is still alive, saying that they won't allow themselves to be murderers just because of some filth like Kai. After assuring themselves that he is still alive, they decide to sink him back into the pond one more time as punishment for worrying them. He looks at the guys and wonders who they are when they suddenly dip him into the pond, making it difficult for him to breathe. They kick him again and again, bullying him without end. Just then, another student named Josh arrives, saying that the others are being too soft in tormenting the boy. Holding a syringe in his hand, he plans to inject Kai with a drug that will make him perform the most hilarious dance. Kai tries to break free from the other student's grasp as they hold him steady, while Josh is about to inject him with the serum. The boy pleads with Josh not to inject him with the liquid, but the bully doesn't listen and fills his system with the serum. This causes Kai to vomit uncontrollably, prompting erupted laughter from the other students. Now that he is like a puppet, Josh tells him that he should dance for them and entertain them. Kai is almost dying as he continues vomiting. However, Josh is relentless and unforgiving, saying that a worthless person like him can't rest, then gives him another kick, telling him to get back up and keep dancing until he dies. Suddenly, the boy stands up, saying that he is tired of holding himself back. One of the students grabs him by the collar, but instead of backing down, Kai grabs his hand, puts so much force into it, and twists it so hard that the boy screeches in agonizing pain. Kai tells them that trash like them needs to be punished. The student grabs him by his collar and calls him arrogant for calling them trash. Meanwhile, Liam assesses the magic inside Kai's body and finds out that it only possesses weak ice magic. The student then attempts to attack him once more. However, Liam uses his ice magic against the man, freezing his fist that is about to connect with his face. The boy is shocked by the impressive use of magic. Liam covers his limbs with ice and leaps to attack the student, punching him with undeniable force in the face, sending him to the ground with overwhelming power. He calls the man pathetic, who is now crying out in pain. The other students are all in shock, seeing how strong Kai has become. Liam realizes that the original owner of the body didn't know how to use his strength well and had far too weak magical power inside him. The students start to quiver at his sight as he stands there with a sudden, inexplicable aura. They frantically run to safety, but Liam is faster and freezes their legs so they won't be able to escape. He then approaches one of them and orders him to hand over his clothes, because his reek of swamp and vomit. He then instructs another student to give him his jacket. The students are all submissive to his orders out of fear, and when he turns around and tells them that he will sink them into the swamp, they all tremble in fear. The long-haired student approaches him and tells him that he apologizes for what they did, so he should forgive them. Liam smirks, saying that he took countless lives and an apology will never be enough. His other friends then throw Josh under the bus and tell Liam that they all just followed the guy's orders since they couldn't go against him. Josh is the one who recommended him to be the target of bullying and to be in Liam's descendant game. Confused, Liam makes him explain what the game is. The long-haired student is confused, saying he should know the rules of the game by now. Impatient, Liam shouts at him to answer his question quickly. Quivering, the student answers that it is a game passed down among the students of the Royal Magic Academy, and whoever is chosen as a descendant of that traitor Liam Hill will be punished by the whole student body in various ways. Liam is confused after hearing his name, and so the student explains that everyone should know about the tale of the subjugation of the traitor Liam Hill, and that he was defeated by the 99 heroes, putting an end to the worst villain of all time. Hearing this fuels Liam's anger. He remembers the faces of the real traitors who apparently created a ridiculous fake history to make him the bad guy. Now, he must set history right. Still confused by his strange behavior, the students guide Liam to his residence. He tells them to go home for the day but warns that this isn't the end for them. He will call for them again someday. When he opens the door to his residence, he is greeted by his butler, Morris, who addresses him as Your Highness. Liam is surprised to learn that Kai is actually of royal blood. However, whenever he tries to recall any memories related to Kai's family, he finds nothing. He figures that perhaps Kai is subconsciously rejecting those memories, which causes the blockage. He then looks at his butler and asks about Kai's lineage. Perplexed, Morris explains that Kai is the 8th prince of the kingdom. Confused, Liam asks why Kai isn't living in the royal castle, especially since he is of noble birth. Besides, it puzzles him that some students dared to treat a royal like trash. He also notices that his body is clearly malnourished. Weirded out by his master's sudden change in attitude, Morris cautiously asks what has come over him, saying he seems like a completely different person. Liam finds it odd that a servant would question his master out of concern. Without intending to continue pretending to be Kai, he tells Morris that the Kai he knew is already dead, causing even more confusion. He then advises the butler to simply think of him as another man who just happens to share the same face as his former master. Later, Liam lies down in the bedroom to rest. 2,100 years ago, Magra and his sister, Mimi, were surrounded and outnumbered by the man-eating offspring of the Calamity Demon. They were clearly at a disadvantage, and just then, one of the monster's tentacles pierced Magra's chest, pinning him to the wall. Mimi screamed in fear and was about to help her brother when she, too, was caught by the tentacles. She screamed in agony as the demons feasted on her body. Feeling weak, Magra couldn't do anything to save his sister from being violated by the demons. Just as they were about to be defeated, a strong magical power exploded in the direction of the demons, annihilating them in an instant. Liam had arrived just in time to save them. The siblings were relieved, knowing they were now safe. Magre felt regretful for acting on his own and, in the end, still needing Liam's help, even though he had sworn he wouldn't. Liam acknowledged that Magre had been a real pain and acted childishly as he healed his injuries. However, that was all in the past, and the most important thing now was that they were safe. He checked on Mimi, and once he knew she was fine, he helped his friends stand up. He knew they were there to gather enhancement materials and understood their intentions. Magre, though often irritated by him, admitted that he was indebted to Liam and that he was the savior of both his and his sister's lives. They shook hands in friendship, and Magre vowed never to forget his debt. At present, Liam wakes up from his dream and swears to find the ungrateful bastards who trapped him in the abyss with the Calamity Demon. Now that he is back, he will reclaim the power they have stolen from him. Liam is having breakfast at his residence, served by Morris. He is having another simple meal, and it tastes awful. It is obvious that his butler is not accustomed to cooking, and there is no sign of other servants besides him. He can't believe that his life as a prince is lower than that of a low noble family. Morris apologizes for his shortcomings, but he stops Morris, saying that if he has pride, he won't be apologizing to him. He continues to eat his breakfast, but thinks that the quality of the food he eats needs to improve. At school, the students go about their day, preparing to attend their respective classes. Meanwhile, Liam wonders how he will find Kai's enemies. Just then, Josh appears with his lackeys from yesterday. The bully leader confronts him about roughing up his lackeys and getting carried away, admonishing him for defying them when he is just a descendant of Liam. The other students agree that he doesn't have the right to fight back and needs to just stand and do nothing like he always does. The students start to throw rocks at him as he stands there frozen and unmoving. He feels pity for the pain that Kai had to endure, and seeing how he is still holding up even after being hit by rocks many times, the students stop, clearly stunned. Josh tells them to continue the assault, but they seem hesitant as they are now beginning to get scared. With no other choice, Josh decides to beat Liam up himself and starts stretching his arms to give him a powerful punch. The punch connects, but Liam manages to dodge it. However, since the boy's body is weak, his bones easily break. He then tries to put the broken bone back with his healing power and easily attaches it to the right place. The students are in awe of how effectively he uses healing power on himself. Frustrated, Josh unleashes his fire power and hurls it toward Liam, who, instead of dodging, just sighs, casts an ice spell, and fires the spell back at him. Josh is struck by his own spell along with his lackeys. They are all thrown to the ground by the impact and left unconscious. The other students are stunned in place after seeing the new power of Liam. Just then, a teacher named Piers arrives and tries to break up the fight, admonishing Liam. The teacher lets out an evil smile, saying that he needs to be punished for what he did. The young man tries to reason with him that Josh and his lackeys were the first ones to start the fight, but Piers isn't listening. The bullies are glad that he will be reprimanded by the teacher, making a bet on how long it will take him to recover this time. Suddenly, Liam feels an excruciating pain in his head and sees flashbacks of the same teacher beating Kai. He realizes that he can see the body's old owner's memories and discovers that the teacher is also one of the people who harmed Kai. Seeing that he has stopped in his tracks, the teacher tells him to hurry up with an evil smile on his face. Meanwhile, Liam also wears an evil smile, ready to teach Piers a lesson. Piers leads him into a room and locks the door. He thought he had already taught the student an intense lesson 3 days ago, but it seems the boy hasn't learned a thing since he is causing trouble again. Smirking, he mocks the boy, saying he must enjoy corporal punishment and calling him a pervert who pretends to be of royal blood. Filled with contempt, he hurls more insults, calling him a vulgar loser. With venom in his tone, he tells him he deserves it for having the blood of a whore and a traitor, claiming there is no one more fitting to be the descendant of Liam than him. He traps the boy against the wall, ready to punish him. Piers goads him into crying, remembering how he used to tremble and beg for forgiveness. To his frustration, however, the boy stands still and calm, no longer trembling in fear. Thinking the boy's mind must be on the verge of breaking, he grabs his whipping belt, ready to indulge in what he considers the best way to relieve his stress. He raises the whip high, eager to hear his students' cries, and brings it down with excitement. To his shock, a knight covered in magical ice appears and grabs his hand, stopping him from striking Liam. Still strapped to the wall, Liam points out the marks on his own body, evidence of the teacher's abuse, and now has the chance to avenge Kai. He breaks free from the restraints and orders the knight to twist the teacher's hand, warning that if he speaks or makes a sound, he will break it completely. Confused and terrified, Piers demands to know what he means, but Liam responds by breaking his right hand and threatening to twist his left next. To repay the torment the man inflicted, Liam orders him to whip himself. Horrified, Piers refuses, insisting he will not harm himself. In response, Liam conjures an arrow of ice and aims it at him, forcing the man to choose between whipping himself or being pierced by the arrow, which might end his life. Fearing for his survival, the teacher reluctantly chooses to whip himself. Following Liam's command, he removes his clothes, revealing his bulging frame, and strikes himself once. Liam orders him to continue, demanding 100 lashes. After some time, Piers finally completes the 100 strikes. His body is battered and bleeding, but he feels a momentary sense of relief, thinking the punishment is over. However, Liam tells him that they are not done yet. Much to the teacher's horror, Piers is hoisted up on a tower of ice, completely stripped of his clothes. Liam humiliates him before the entire academy, believing it is the punishment he deserves. He orders the man to confess the abuse he inflicted on Kai. The teacher screams in agony and fear, begging to be let down first. Growing impatient, Liam snaps his fingers, causing the ice to melt. Piers panics as the ice begins to dissolve beneath him, and with no other choice, he confesses. He admits that he committed many sins against Kai, forcing the boy to whip himself repeatedly, though he had justified his actions as part of educational guidance. In truth, it was all driven by his twisted perversions. He shouts that Kai did nothing wrong, and that he punished the boy countless times purely for his own pleasure. Desperate to be freed, he cries out that he will admit to all his wrongdoings if Liam releases him. The students watch in shock and fascination, many seeming to enjoy the spectacle. They whisper among themselves, certain that Piers's career is over. Hearing their remarks, Liam glares at them. His voice rings cold as he tells them how disgusting it is to be called the descendant of Liam, and that anyone who hurt Kai under that name will not be spared. He vows to bring retribution to everyone who shares the teacher's sins and warns them to live in fear, for he will make them pay one by one. Among the crowd, Josh burns with anger, unable to accept that Liam has humiliated them all. Meanwhile, a girl watching from afar scoffs, calling them pathetic. Later, Liam stands in the director's office, being reprimanded for publicly punishing a teacher in front of the entire academy. What he did was described as disgraceful and unprecedented. He narrows his eyes, his cold glare making the teachers uneasy. He explains that he attacked Piers because the man had been using corporal punishment to satisfy his own depraved desires. The faculty, however, does not believe him. They mock his explanation, calling it absurd. The director insists that Piers is a respectable educator who would never resort to such cruelty. Liam argues that the teacher confessed in front of everyone, but the director dismisses this, saying the boy must have coerced Piers into lying. The director then turns to Kaylor, Liam's homeroom teacher, who is supposed to be responsible for him. Kaylor apologizes and claims that Liam has always had a tendency to lie. She adds that a few months ago, he accused his classmates of bullying him, when in truth, many simply disliked him for being gloomy and blaming others for his shortcomings. Liam turns to her, meeting her eyes directly. His voice is sharp and steady as he tells her that she was the one who ignored Kai's pleas for help. Kaylor found his words distasteful and asked the director to expel him immediately, to which the old man agreed. With a vicious smile on her face, she mocked him, saying that his dream of becoming a national recovery mage might not be within his reach anymore because he was being expelled. Just then, a staff member entered the room and delivered a message for the director. Upon hearing it, the director's face registered shock, and although against his wishes, he retracted his order to expel the boy. Kaylor tried to argue that they needed to stick with their plan, but the director told her to stop because the order had come directly from Lord Keith. This shocked the teachers, but it also made them obey since it was something they could not go against. The director sent him outside the room, and he was left wondering why the director had changed his mind about expelling him. He then remembered Kaylor's face and wondered if she was one of the people who was a target of Kai's revenge. He then planned on digging into Kai's memories more. Just then, a woman approached him, and her presence earned nothing but disgust from him. This brought him back to the past, where Magritte told another member, Violet, to hurt him more. The girl followed the order and cast a spell on Liam, injuring him further. After inflicting more pain, Magritte kicked him into the abyss, wishing that he would suffer for all eternity. As he fell into the depths of the abyss, he saw the faces of the people whom he once trusted but who had betrayed him. At present, the girl approached him but recognized him as Liam. Even though she had a different face now, she was definitely Violet reborn, one of the members of the 100-man unit who had once fought alongside him and then betrayed him in the end. He pinned the woman to the wall and whispered that her appearing before him saved him the trouble of hunting her down, which confused the woman. He whispers the name Violet, which baffles the girl even more. He then grabs her by the neck and accuses her of tricking him with her act. However, the girl claims that she honestly doesn't know what he is talking about and tries to use her magic, but she is having a hard time controlling the wind spell. Liam barely dodges it as the girl struggles to control her power and attack him. He looks at her with accusing eyes and calls her a pathetic liar. Determined to catch her lie, he tells her to attack him with the power of the wind god that she stole from him. She starts to cough, the use of wind magic taking its toll on her. Looking at her, he just knows that his power is wasted on the girl and that she is not even using 10% of its true strength, saying that she is unworthy of the power. He declares that he is going to take back the power, but his body suddenly gives up from using too much magic, having pushed himself to the limit. Later, he wakes up from a dream with a jolt after his body recovers. The girl tries to help him get up, but he slaps her hand away, refusing to accept help from her. Morris scolds him, trying to make him realize that the girl, Bridget, healed him after he collapsed and carried him all the way to the mansion. He inspects his body and sees that his wound has really healed. Realizing that she is being kind to him, he asks what Violet is scheming. However, the girl corrects him again, saying that she is not Violet but his classmate, Bridget. Frustrated, he tells the girl to drop her act and give him back the power of the wind she stole from him during their past life. He finds it ridiculous that she is claiming to be someone else when it is clear as day that she is Violet reborn. Suddenly, it sinks in for Bridget that the man in front of her is not the Kai she knows. Looking directly into her eyes, he tells her that 1200 years ago, he was betrayed by his friends and locked away in the abyss with the Calamity Demon, which ate away at his body for eternity, and that he is Liam Hill from the legends. Seeing her reaction, he finds it strange that she truly seems naive about the whole situation. He tries to pinch her face to provoke her, but Morris stops him by sending a warning attack in his direction, telling him to refrain from being rough with the lady. He puts himself between Bridget and his master, trying to protect the girl from him. Seeing his butler protecting another, he asks where his loyalty lies. Morris tells him that he is always on his side, which is why he stepped in. He realizes that his master Kai is no longer in his body, but that the traitor Liam has taken over. Morris pleads with him to explain. Liam tells Morris and Bridget the story of how he ended up in Kai's body. For the past 1,300 years, all reincarnations of the 100-man unit had retained their memories. Unable to remember anything, Bridget insists that she did not steal the power of the wind god she possesses. It was her past self who stole it from him, and while she feels sorry for what he went through, she has no memory of hurting him. Still, if it was a sin her past self committed, she is willing to atone for it. Liam smirks, saying that he will definitely reclaim his power, but that will not be the end of it. While trapped with the Calamity Demon, he was violated in every way imaginable for 1,300 years. The suffering he endured, he vows to make every last one of the traitors experience it. He tells Bridget she made a grave mistake by healing him. He believes she is only pretending to have lost her memories to escape his revenge and warns her not to expect any mercy from him. However, if her amnesia truly is genuine, he will make her remember everything first before turning her life into a living hell. Otherwise, his revenge would be meaningless. He then tries to invade her memories with mind-reading magic, but he forgets that Kai's body is too weak to use any magic other than ice. Liam clenches his fist in frustration, realizing he cannot even cast such a simple spell, something that would never have been an issue in his original body. In his current state, he cannot even use magic against Bridget or absorb the wind god's power. Determined, he declares that he will train and master magic, even if it means delaying his revenge. He stands from the bed, eager to start practicing. Morris and Bridget try to stop him, but he is relentless. To convince him, Morris offers to use his own mind-reading magic to fulfill Liam's wishes, but Liam refuses, saying he will not return until he masters the ability himself. He tells his butler not to prepare any meals for him from now on, as he will focus solely on training. He goes out to the field, determined that with the proper training, Kai's body and latent magical power might even surpass his original strength. To unlock that potential, he must first acclimate the boy's frail body to the strain of powerful magic. He keeps trying to harness his magic, but Kai's body continually gives out. As night falls, he continues practicing, pushing himself to the limit. Worried for his well-being, Morris brings him food and begs him to stop, afraid that if he pushes further, he might die. However, Liam cannot hear him, too focused on harnessing his power. Morris watches in awe his master's determination and incredible focus. Not wanting to disturb him, he leaves the dish he prepared made with ingredients known to stabilize magical power. Still training, Liam breathes heavily and finally succeeds in harnessing his energy. With a victorious glare, he declares that he can now take back the stolen power of the wind god from him. Liam was able to master both mind reading and ability absorption in less than 2 days. With this, he confirms that his new body's potential is absurdly high. He sees the basket of food on the ground beside him and remembers Morris leaving them last night, saying they helped stabilize magic power. He just vaguely remembers it happening. Despite the thoughtfulness, he deems the effort unnecessary. As he was about to turn away, a memory slipped into his mind. The butler ran to Kai, rushing as he noticed his drenched appearance. Beaten and bruised, the poor prince apologized for being such a worthless master. Should the helper ever want to leave the mansion, he'd gladly write a recommendation letter. However, Morris says he'll never leave and will always take his side no matter what happens. Undeniably moved by the young man's memories, Liam sighs and takes a seat in front of the prepared meal basket. They're nearly rotten from being left there all night, but he takes big bites regardless. Soon enough, the plates of food are completely devoured without leftovers. Since he's full, he decides to take a short nap for now and heads back into the mansion. He sees the door wide open and instantly becomes suspicious. Coming even closer, sticky red liquid marks the floor from the entrance. As expected, these are the traces of a lethal assault. He steps inside and sees Morris, hunched on the ground just meters away from the door. His condition was far from okay, and he was definitely moments away from death. Even worse, one of his eyes was missing, forcibly removed by the assailant. As the gravity of the situation sets it, Liam moves his hand and tries to use a healing spell on him, but not a single speck of magic comes out of his palms. In his current state, he can't even use a healing spell. As such, the young master gently laid him on the floor for now. The new plan is to call for a detective and a healing magician. The doctor arrives sooner or later and does his best to save the man. He was able to treat most of the serious injuries, and the patient will need a month to recover. Unfortunately, his right eye was a lost case, and it's unlikely that he'll ever be able to see from that side again. Liam partly blames himself for failing to even sense the enemy last night. The doctor leaves the patient and his guardian alone. Left to their own space, Morris apologizes for troubling the prince over something so trivial. Such shallowness does not matter to him, and what's important now is to know who attacked them all of a sudden. In no time, the former absolute king appears by the gates of a mansion. With an expression as cold as his magic, he raises his hand and casts ice magic. A huge ice lance appeared from the magic circle and was launched right through the thick metal gates. Inside, Josh was having his meal on a peaceful day as usual. He inadvertently spits his food out upon hearing something crash just outside. Infuriated, the prince turns to his attendees and demands to know what was going on. A butler rushed into the dining room and urgently reported the problem with the gates. Josh quickly rushed to the site and was shocked by what he saw. His big and sturdy gate was in pieces, blown away with brute force. They say an intruder might be nearby, but who would attack them in broad daylight? Could it possibly be assassins hired by his father's political rivals? Given the considerable number of enemies he's made, it's a possibility. That said, it's bad that someone is capable of destroying their custom-made gate. Josh immediately calls the guards to the room and to the entrance. However, there was no need for all that, as the intruder's business is with him. Liam stepped into the mansion, but he's followed by a bunch of burly men with angered faces. The young master orders them to kill him, and they all charged in with war cries and large fists. A huge wall of ice appeared from the ground, blocking them and freezing their movements entirely. Handling things himself, Josh shoots a bunch of fireballs at the enemy, but again, these are perfectly blocked with the intruder not even lifting a finger. Liam approached steadily with his hands in his pockets and watched as his target fell to the ground in sheer fear. The master turned to his servants and ordered them to do something about the guy. To his surprise, they all looked away with pale faces, basically refusing to save him. This makes the intruder chuckle, as no one was willing to help him. With this, tears and sweat began seeping out of his face. Since he likely knows why he's come, Liam crouched and summoned something from the air. Met with ignorance, he asks if he's lying, pouring even more terror into the boy's heart. He's the son of the man who runs the area, so he's told to think carefully. Hiding behind his father's authority, he does whatever he wants on a daily basis. Because of this, even Morris knew his name, but the problem is the existence of the person who conspired with him. Liam's butler is fairly skilled, and the student can't have possibly harmed him on his own. Pointing an ice pick at his eye, he demands to know who else invaded his home. Josh stutters but denies any involvement and is warned against making the man threatening him repeat himself. Asked who was there, he finally breaks, slobbering over himself as promised to talk. With eyes shut tight, he says the name, Prince Keith. Thinking about it, Liam recalls the headmaster's stern voice and how the prince ordered to let his offenses as a student go without any explanation. He asks Josh if the noble is Kai's enemy, but he can't say anymore, as doing so would spell his immediate death. With this, Liam decides to approach him directly and conjures the pick again. The young master said everything he can, but that's not enough to be forgiven at all. After all, the price to pay for taking Morris's sight is a heavy one. Josh turns into a wrecked mess of absolute fear. In the first place, the intruder's purpose for coming there was to take revenge for his butler. Perhaps it was meant to tease Kai, but laying a hand on his aid was a mistake. The desperate pleas and cries fall on deaf ears, and Liam asks the spoiled brat if he knows the phrase an eye for an eye. With intricate and slow movements, he drives the ice pick deep, eliciting ear-piercing shrieks that rang throughout the mansion. Morris, still bandaged, asks his master about the thing in his hand. Liam puts it a bit closer and shakes a little bottle around. Inside it was Josh's eye, a little trophy he took for revenge. He smirks and offers to display it on the shelf, but is promptly told to bury it in the garden. Doing as told, he even puts a humorous sign, indicating the spoils of war. The butler sighed, never expecting him to bring such a thing back. Told that this wasn't the end of it, he argues that he doesn't need any more parts. Liam clarifies, saying there are more people who still need to be hit with vengeance. Morris is taken aback by his drive. Unfortunately, he doesn't know who attacked him, as they did so from behind. His young master proudly shares that he was able to force a name out, and mentions Keith. He's asked if the name rings a bell, and the butler's reaction shows that it definitely does. After a moment of thought, he says he doesn't need revenge. If that person is involved, he shouldn't have a reason to seek vengeance on Morris's behalf in the first place. After all, he isn't his old master anymore. This is undeniably true, but Kai considered him an ally, and Liam owes him a debt for giving him his new body. For this reason, he intends to carry out everything he wanted to do in his place. What's more, there's a high chance that Keith is actually the one who killed his master. Hours ago, Josh rolled and screamed in agony, holding the eye socket that was now empty. His servants watched silently, and the horrific sight was enough to make a maid faint. A butler is ordered to take her out of the room with care, and they all take this opportunity to leave the area. Left alone, Liam called to the squirming boy. Afraid that he'll be hurt again, he curls up and begs for mercy, but is told not to worry. The debt from hurting Morris had been paid with his eye. However, the revenge for Kai still remained. Horror filled Josh's entire being, as he realized what he was talking about. He drugged the innocent boy and probably caused him to lose his life. The pathetic young master pleaded, saying he only followed orders. Asked if he was commanded by Keith, he looks away with his remaining eye, unable to answer. Hesitation spreads across his face, as he was warned that saying anything would lead to his death. He turned away and kept begging to be forgiven already. Back in the mansion, Liam says he needs to question the prince, at least for the dead boy's sake. Morris stops him for a moment, repeating how his master was drugged and killed. With his voice and body trembling, he asks if he's really dead, saying he thought that he and Liam's souls were just temporarily switched. It became clear that a misunderstanding was afloat. Kai died after being force-fed drugs, which is why the old hero's soul entered his body. After all, one body can only contain one soul. In other words, his old master's being and personality no longer exist in this world. Morris freezes in disbelief from the news. Tears soon fall, and he grips the bed tight in frustration. Kai was gentle and kind, especially among his peers. No matter how hard he was bullied, he never had it in him to hate others. His death was unforgivable, and as such, Morris sincerely asks for his vengeance. There was no need to ask, as Liam already intended on doing so regardless. Liam confidently walked through the academy's corridors, and his mere presence elicited strong reactions from other students. Inside the lecture hall, people are talking about Piers and how he's taking some time off. Suddenly, a shadow was cast over Bridget. Seeing who it was from, the classmates backed away in fear and worry over what he might do, more so when he turned to shoot them a threatening gaze. Since it was too noisy, he told the girl to come with him and speak elsewhere. They arrived by the courtyard, where there would be no interruptions. It was finally time for him to peek into her heart. With the power he obtained, she's surprised, knowing Kai doesn't know mind-reading magic and can't believe his words as he claims to have learned it in just 2 days. After all, mind-reading is an intermediate spell, which takes at least 3 months to master. He piles on, saying he also learned absorption magic to take his powers back. The mention of an advanced level skill makes her gasp. There's no way he could learn something that normally takes years of training in such a short time. Using his actions, he casts the spell to prove his point, and she has no choice but to accept that he really has learned it all. Liam smugly emphasizes that he's the strongest and is on a completely different level from them. Surprisingly, the confidence makes her blush. With this, he approached Bridget to see directly into her heart. He held her head, and a burst of light flashed as he activated the mind reading. The light swirled around, gathering her memories, and he soon saw flashes of her childhood, from the moment she was born, and even the time she spent together with Kai. Everything was clear. Liam was dumbfounded, forced to accept that there were no memories of Violet hidden inside her. The spell ends and Bridget gently opens her eyes. He confirms that his traitor's existence is nowhere to be found in her memories. It sounds like terrific news since the misunderstanding has been cleared up, but he says that he hasn't concluded that she isn't Violet's reincarnation. After all, the two of them resemble each other far too much. Still, he's decided against taking her powers for now. The pure-hearted girl insists that he still do so if it belongs to him in the first place. However, if he doesn't reclaim his power from his target, then it won't count as revenge. The seething and cold statement makes her shudder. Liam moves on to deal with her later. For now, he has to avenge Kai against Keith. The name makes her grab his arm and ask him to wait. Like Morris, she dissuades him from going against the prince at all costs. If he proceeds with his plan, he'll be killed without question. The former absolute king questions if she thinks he'd lost. His enemy is an incredibly cruel man. Beyond that, he's mastered light magic, even more so than the one named Light War King. The weak ice magic he inherited from Kai can't possibly stand against such a powerful man. She might be right about him being an opponent he can't defeat, but the thought alone makes him smile deviously. Liam's current ice magic was undoubtedly weak. His acceptance makes Bridget confused. Even Kai admitted that his substandard magic couldn't possibly beat Keith, but for some reason, the man in front of him was still so calm despite it. The bell rings and their stomachs growl just in time for lunch. As such, he turns away and ends the talk to eat for now, surprising her again given how serious their ongoing conversation was. Again, she continues to blush, unable to understand what was going through his mind. Perhaps this is the reason why she wants to know more about the mysterious man. The curious girl runs after him and joins. They soon arrive at the dining hall, where Bridget stares at Liam while he eats. Sensing it, he asks if she has anything to say, but she just blushes and waves it off. The avoidant behavior annoys him for a moment, but he decides to let it go and continue with his meal. Back to the earlier topic, he asks where he can find Keith. He's also a student at the academy, but meeting him is impossible for them. After all, special scholarship students like him are in a completely separated area in the campus. The special area can only be accessed through the second east gate, which is heavily guarded by men and magic, making it impossible to trespass. Contrary to his expectations, it isn't just a common school gate. She also notes that all the students there are royals or are from powerful noble families. Unfortunately, contacting him outside the academy is also impossible, and would actually be even harder than doing so inside. Keith is always escorted by a handful of his personal guards. Additionally, any of his attempts to meet the royal will be blocked no matter what. With his arms crossed in frustration, he asks why. Apparently, there's a restraining order prohibiting him from approaching the royal family. This is odd, as he himself is a member of that family. Morris explained back then that he's the 8th prince of the kingdom, and now, Bridget explains that he is not the current king's biological son. His real father, Duke Asher, was the current ruler's older brother. For some reason, he tried to assassinate the late king and was captured as a traitor. As punishment for treason, he was promptly beheaded without mercy. Soon enough, Kai's mother, the Duchess, followed her husband to the afterlife. On the other hand, the current king adopted him as a son and raised him as the 8th son. However, the queen set one condition before she allowed him to take the boy in. He was not allowed to live in the royal palace and will be stationed away. Additionally, he could not have contact with any of the royal family members. Lastly, his right to succession was permanently revoked. If he ever breaks the restraining order issued by the queen, he would be imprisoned immediately. Liam stretches, not too bothered by the entire thing. He wonders if there's any legal loophole that allow him to get close to the prince. Thinking and pondering for a while, she suggests getting special permission from the headmaster, but it's never happened before. The memory of the director's smile as he expelled him was still vivid. He looks like a fairly sneaky guy, and exactly the type that's easy to corner with leverage. Getting an idea, he asks where he can find the headmaster. Students rushed away in surprise as they saw Liam walking through the campus. They have no idea why, but he was walking the road that leads to the gate for the scholarship area. He asked Bridget where he has to go if he wants to meet the headmaster. The plan is to get hold of his weaknesses and force the man to accept his terms. Instead of a threat, he'd rather call it a negotiation. After all, someone with such a villainous face is likely to have a few dirty secrets. The girl can't help but agree with his conclusion and stays quiet while thinking about it. She then asks for a little time, as she wants to look into the director herself. Her reason for helping him was unclear, especially given their relationship. It won't make up for what happened between their past lives, but she still wants to somehow atone. Since it won't hurt him anyway, he decides to take her up on the offer. Delighted that he's opening up, she tells him to use her as he pleases. It's not like he trusts her, but that's why it'll be interesting to see how she'll move. Just in case she turns out to be useless, Liam does some digging on his own. With brave and steady steps, he walked towards the east gate. There, he sees 2 guards right off the bat, along with an advanced magic circle that's layered multiple times. With his current abilities, there's no way he can break through the barrier. Just then, he hears the wheels of a carriage turning. A large horse-drawn carriage suddenly sped past him, and in that quick moment, he senses an unmistakable presence. He was already sure that the man inside was none other than Magre, the mastermind behind his betrayal. A long time ago, that very same man knelt before him, saying he'll never forget what Liam did for him. They fought countless battles together, trusting the other with their back. However, all that was defiled during the day of their last encounter. Just thinking about it makes him chuckle. He can't believe that he ran into his biggest enemy's reincarnation so easily. Looking again, he sees 5 guards stationed at the post. They aren't much of a problem on their own, and the real issue is the magic gate. Even the carriage stops before it and goes through a magical security and analysis check before it's granted access. After a while, the chains are undone and the doors swung open, allowing the carriage to enter. If he barges in now, he'll definitely cause unwanted commotion. As such, he concludes that it'd be better to let them move freely for a while. What matters is that he already knows where Magri is. Magri was indeed inside the carriage and seated beside a bunch of red and sticky bags. Moving into the special campus and arriving at his destination, he exits with the bags in his hands. The red liquid continued to drip to the ground as he walked through the building. Soon enough, he reaches the student council's executive office. There are already people waiting for him inside. The seats were full, and the man sitting at the head asks how it went with his idiotic targets. As the leader called to him, Magri complained about him using his name from years ago. He drops the bags and says it was all going as he predicted. Inside were heads of the ones who stirred up the descendants of Liam Game. They said their victim's strength and personality suddenly changed, as if he had become a different man. In other words, Liam had finally entered his vessel. Things had actually progressed more than that. When he was making his way there, Magri happened to notice their old friend. The unexpected sight caught him by surprise at first, more so when he saw him staring right into the carriage. He was already close right by their side. The leader chuckles and grins in amusement, glad that the absolute king had finally come back to them. Sharing in his smile, the others add on, saying he'll be trampled helplessly in this life as well. It was the perfect scenario that all of them could hope for. 1200 years ago, they just threw him into the abyss and couldn't even watch him suffer. This time, they can stay and watch every second of it happen. A few days later, Bridget gladly announced that she has solid information on the director. Despite her satisfied smile, Liam's expression remained unchanged. Meanwhile, their classmates wondered why they were together, but didn't dare question it. A stern gaze from him makes them flinch and run away. The young man then asks if the information was reliable without a doubt. She proudly says that it's certain. Apparently, the old man has been lying about his business trips and sneaks off into a club where he's gotten quite close and familiar with one of the women working there. He's known to be terrified of his wife, so proof of an affair could be used as leverage. With an expectant smile, she asks what he thinks of her information. Any man with status is like him, so Liam doubts that it would be very good for them. The realization of how terrible men are leaves her in utter disbelief. If they keep an eye on him in the luxury club, he might end up exposing something useful. That said, they can't just stroll inside since they're both still minors. An awkward silence passes, and he clicks his tongue in frustration. Reminded of such factors, it'll be an extra step, but they'll just have to disguise themselves to look like adults. Having recovered well except for his eyesight, Morris welcomes Bridget into the mansion. She walked in the night, clad in soft white silk and her hair done up. Feeling bad, she apologizes for making him fetch her when he's still healing. His master also told him to stay in bed, but that'd only make him sluggish. They reach the main door after a while of walking and knock to announce their arrival. The master of the house allows the two to enter. Bridget is stunned and blushes beet red as he sees Liam in a dashing and charming all-black suit. Noticing her, he questions why she looks so dazed, but she can't just admit that she was mesmerized, seeing his mature appearance. With a cold gaze, he quickly decides that she looks too childish. The two are disappointed by his reaction, and Morris scolds him for saying such a thing to a lady who dressed up for him. However, that isn't the point, and what matters is that she looks like an adult. Unfortunately, she currently looks like a child, being taken to the opera by her parents. As such, he turns away and decides to head to the club all on his own. Bridget called to him, refusing to accept it. She looked around, while he refused to even listen to her complaints. Just then, she saw a letter opener on a nearby table, and quickly grabbed the sharp object. Gripping it tight, the girl held the tool near her body, making the butler worry. Determined, she daringly tears her clothes, cutting through the chest and thigh areas to create slits that bare more of her skin. Red from embarrassment, she asks if she looks a little more mature with this change. Liam's eyes opened in surprise, not expecting her to take it so far, but suddenly chuckled in amusement. Approaching, he says he'll give her credit for her courage. Reaching over, he takes the clip on her head and pulls it away to let her hair down. This is the final step that gets her where they need to be. Bridget turns red again and her heart beats fast. Moving on, it was time to set their plan into motion. They head out together and, in no time, arrive at their destination. It's a high-class social club, and the headmaster should already be inside at this time. Liam walks out of the carriage first and extends his hand to his partner and asks if she's ready to play the role of a refined lady. The waves of heat on her face seemed to be unending, but this was not the time to be nervous. With a determined gaze, Bridget says she's ready and takes his hand to follow. Liam and Bridget walk towards the entrance of the high-class social club. The bouncer blocks the way and says that they need to show their ID. They look at each other, and we flash back to earlier in the evening. In the mansion, Bridget hands Liam a fake ID. He takes it and sees that it says a different name and age, 21. She says it is necessary to get into the club. Liam wonders if it will actually work. He asks how she got it, and she replies that she used her dad's connections. He remembers what she previously mentioned and then asks her what her father does. Bridget seems nervous and replies quietly that he runs a small business. Back in the present, the bouncer is checking the ID. He believes it is legit and allows them to enter. Liam and Bridget go through the door and see the fancy space inside with a bar. Some rich folks are smoking cigars and gambling. Bridget is a bit culture shocked to see what the adult world is like. She then looks around to find the director, but he is not there. Liam tells her not to move her head too much, as it will draw suspicion. She says the director is not here, causing him to think for a moment. He then points her attention to the other side of the room, where there is a door. He tells her to keep looking at it. A well-dressed couple is walking towards the door. The man shows what looks like a VIP card, and the employee promptly lets him inside. Liam figures it is a VIP room and that the couple had a special membership token. Crime, no matter the era, is plotted behind closed doors. Thus, he figures the director is past that door. Bridget is worried, though, that a simple ID will not be enough to get in. It will be almost impossible to fake the VIP token. Liam, though, says it is not a big problem. He noticed that the door isn't actually locked. Thus, they will just need to get the black-suited guys out of the way for a moment. Bridget wonders how they will pull that off, and Liam reminds her that he can use magic. Liam reiterates that, to get through the door to the VIP room, they will need to get the men in black suits out of the way. He starts casting his ice magic and points his hand at the floor. A trail of ice flows through the floor unnoticed by the guests. It then forms into a large shard of ice, which draws the attention of everyone in the room. Everyone wonders what just happened. Bridget is amazed as Liam was able to control magic at such a high speed that no one noticed. The man by the door runs forward to see what the commotion is about. Liam tells Bridget that now is their chance. They dash through the door while the situation in the room is still a bit chaotic. The door closes behind them without anyone spotting them going in. Inside, there are stairs leading down below. They head down, noting that it goes pretty far down. They finally arrive at the bottom, and Liam tells her to stay alert. They turn right and see a large hallway with ornate decorations. Liam asks if she sees the director, but her expression says no. He then suggests they check out the rest of the area. Inside, there are people having affairs and others taking drugs. In addition, there are male and female whores walking about, ready to satisfy the customers. Liam and Bridget see this and are taken aback by how corrupt this place is. He then sees the bright side, since if the chairman regularly comes here, then it should be easy to find something to blackmail him with. Liam then hears something and takes a peek at the entrance. He notices that the guard from the top floor is here, looking distressed. He calls Bridget's attention and she recognizes him, too. She wonders if he is looking for them. The man in the black suit is now walking in their direction. Liam sees that it might be too far to run. He then turns to Bridget and asks if they should handle this peacefully. She begs for the peaceful method, and he smiles. He then quickly moves in and kisses her on the lips. Bridget is stunned and starts to blush. Their kiss then becomes more passionate and intimate. Their lips move apart, then lock together once more. Liam peeks through the corner of his eye and sees the guard glance at them and then move on. They finally stop kissing, and he tells her that the man in black is gone. Bridget, though, is still too flustered to react. Liam then says they should find the chairman before things get noisy. Liam asks Bridget why she is blushing. She answers shyly that it is because he kissed her. It makes Liam smile that she is acting like a child. This embarrasses Bridget even more. Liam has no time for it and asks that they move on to their mission. They see that the corridor splits in two directions, so Bridget suggests that they split up. As she takes her route, Liam tells her to call him if anything happens. Bridget is glad she has time to be alone to calm herself. She remembers the kiss, and it is making her blush again. She tries to shake it off by telling herself, with sadness, that she knows Liam does not feel anything about it. She refocuses by entering one of the rooms. Meanwhile, Liam is checking the room too and sees that many of them are filled with people gambling. As he continues his search, he hears Bridget scream. Elsewhere in one of the private rooms, Bridget is being pinned down on the sofa by a middle-aged masked man wearing a baby's outfit complete with diapers. She asks that he let her go, but the man tightens his grip on her. The man whispers that she is just playing hard to get. Suddenly, Liam appears to slap him away. He asks Bridget if she is okay and offers his hand to let her up. He asks her why she did not blast him away with her magic. It makes her feel bad knowing that she could have done so, but froze in the moment. Liam assures her that it is okay to be frozen in fear when someone is assaulting her. Hearing him comfort her makes the girl fall for him even more. Liam then refocuses on the guy with a baby costume he put on the floor. He removes his mask and sees that he is actually the headmaster of the academy. The headmaster is caught so off guard that someone knows him and asks who he is. Liam replies that they are students of his academy and calls him a perverted headmaster. He threatens to let other students know about how he goes around wearing a baby's outfit. The headmaster can't look him in the face while trying and failing to voice his excuse for why he is wearing something so perverse. Liam tells him that he has no interest in what his hobbies are, but that the parents of the students might think differently. The headmaster begs that he pretend he has never seen him. In response, Liam freezes the door so no one can get in or out, horrifying the old man. The headmaster goes to his knees and asks what he wants him to do. Liam demands that he be given free access to the scholarship student area. The man says he has no way to do that, so Liam replies that he will spread the rumor that he is a pervert. It leads the man to give in and tells him that he will do it. Liam puts his hand on his shoulder in a threatening way to comfort him. The door suddenly catches on fire. Liam finds the aura of the flame familiar. He remembers when Magre asked him to get into a sparring match with him in their past lives. Liam told him that the gap between their strengths is too strong for him to handle. Magre was committed, telling him that he was prepared to die if it came to it. Liam saw his conviction and agreed to do it. They both activated their flame power and began their fight. Immediately, Magre knew he was losing. Moments later, Magre was panting for breath while he sat on the ground after the loss. Liam offered his hand to help him get back up, and he asked if he wanted to try again. In the present, Liam recognizes the flame magic as the one that was stolen from him. He knows immediately who is on the other side of the door. The door gets destroyed into pieces along with the ice over it. Magre comes into the room with a big grin. He tells Liam that he has been waiting for him. The headmaster sees that Magre is also wearing an academy uniform and is antagonistic toward Liam. He grins as he sees the plan to use Magre to his advantage. The headmaster runs towards Magre and orders him to beat up Liam for a huge reward. It angers Magre that he is being ordered to do something, so he sets the headmaster on fire. Bridget says she needs to help him, but Liam tells her that it is too late since the fire used on him is hellfire, which will burn him until he is nothing. The end result is the burned remains of the headmaster on the floor. Bridget is horrified by the awful scene. Liam asks Magre how it feels to use a power he stole from him. Magre replies with a cackle that it feels amazing and that everyone that stole power from him feels the same way. He says he is glad he has returned since they have been waiting hundreds of years to thank him for his power. Magre then asks him what it felt like being endlessly attacked by the Calamity Demon and its minions for 1,200 years. Bridget can tell that his remark hurts Liam deeply. Magre grins as he sees that he has touched a nerve. However, Liam stays silent. This annoys Magre, who demands that he speak up. Liam calls him pathetic. He says that Magre is still the same man who gets easily frustrated and that the more he barks, the weaker he looks to him. This ignites the red-haired man's fury so that he activates his flame. He threatens to make Liam regret his word and summons a sword for battle. Calmly, Liam replies that he will take him on. Magre thinks Liam is being foolish for still acting strong despite losing his power. He sees no way he can lose, knowing he now has the strongest fire magic, so he calls himself the champion. He remembers the past when he, Liam, and their group encountered a giant dragon. Liam told the others that they would act as decoys while he finished the monster off. So, he activated his fire-infused sword. Magre told him that attacking alone would be reckless. Liam merely smiled with confidence as he replied that he could handle it. Liam then ran off away from the beast, forcing Magre and the others to think of a way to distract the enemy. As the others ran towards the dragon from its front, Liam was running towards the dragon from its back. The dragon charged its plasma breath and fired at the others, which they evaded. Magre ignited his sword with flame and charged at the beast. While he charged, the voice inside his head told him that he was not satisfied just being the decoy. It empowered him to put more power into his slash. He hit the dragon on the head, but its skin was so tough that his blade did not pierce it. The dragon swatted him away instead. He flew a great distance until he hit a bedrock and went unconscious. The dragon stood tall upon Magre's body. Magre's little sister, Mimi, shouted at her brother out of worry. The dragon was about to eat the man. Despite his closed eyes, Magre could hear the voice inside his head, telling him that he was the perfect decoy. Meanwhile, Liam was behind the dragon, ready to stab it with his flaming sword. It led to the dragon being cut vertically into two. Liam stood tall at the center beside the separated parts of the creature. He looked so dashing that the ladies in their group blushed. Later, Magre woke up in a tent, and the first sight he saw was Mimi. He asked her what happened. Mimi looked at him with disdain. He called him the worst. She explained that he always runs wild and makes a fool of himself, and that she was tired of it. She continued to say that it was about time he learned that he was never in Liam's league and that he was pathetic. Hearing her words pains Magri so. Mimi said she has reached her limit with him already. Magri asked her if Liam said something to her that led her to act this way. She replied that he was acting uncool for thinking this. As she left the tent, she said that she wished that Liam were her brother instead and that he should apologize to Liam for what happened earlier. Magri gripped his hand and bit his teeth tightly in frustration. Magri tells him that he is not weak. To prove his strength, he rushes toward Liam with his fire power. Liam blocks his attack with his ice. The air around them sizzles from the clash of their powers. Magri mocks him for using such a pathetic shield to block his fire. The two continue to exchange attacks, not wanting to lose to one another. Bridget calls out to Liam, worried, but the man tells her not to move and to watch from where she is. Magri leaps and swiftly attacks him, saying that he should focus on his opponent first. Liam manages to avoid the offense, but Magri keeps coming at him, swinging his weapon. The man mocks Liam for seemingly being unable to dodge his attacks properly. Magri even tells him that he was finally dragged down from the throne of the absolute king. Gaining confidence, he recharges and attacks again. Once more, Liam blocks his onslaught, but this time his fire is extinguished. He can't believe it, so he attempts to strike once more. However, to his shock, Liam targets his chest instead. The weapon impales him, causing him to drop to his knees. He can't believe that he is about to be defeated. Since his fire is the strongest, he can't accept that he would lose to ordinary magic. Slowly losing his sanity, he asks himself how it happened. Liam stands strong before him, declaring that after all these years, he can never be defeated by his sworn enemy. Even if Magri tried dirty tricks to steal his power, he can never win. He then asks if his former friend betrayed him because of his worthless inferiority complex. Mimi was all smiles and pleasant as she greeted Liam. She clung to him and asked where he was going. The man told her to stop clinging to him since it was hard to walk, clearly not enjoying her attention at all. He thought of her as nothing more than the spoiled little sister of his friend. Dismissing her advances, he asked about Magri's condition, which visibly upset the girl since Liam did not reciprocate her feelings. She somewhat ignored his question, telling him that she did not know anything about her brother's condition at all. He sighed and reprimanded her for not really caring about Magri, pointing out that she looked like she had not even brought him any food. Looking annoyed, she replied that he would not die from skipping his meals, and that it was not a big deal anyway. This ultimately shifted her mood, and she complained that he was always worrying about her brother Magri, but cared much less about her. She then suddenly hugged Liam and asked him if he did not want a cute little sister like her. Liam sighed once again and straightforwardly told her that he preferred Magri over her since he was more useful than her rotten personality. Turning beet red, Mimi was humiliated by his unfiltered words. Just then, Magri arrived and saw them standing so close together. Misunderstanding the situation, he was about to confront Liam. However, Mimi looked at him with disdain and walked away. Seeing the disappointed look on his friend's face, Liam asked if the siblings had fought or something. He told Magri that he spoiled his sister too much, which was why she was becoming more of a brat. Magri finally confronted him and asked if he had been kissing Mimi just now. Liam stayed calm and told him that it seemed his injury had clouded his judgment. This pulled Magri back to the present, and he apologized, saying that he was not really thinking straight. He explained that he truly cared about Mimi and could not help being overprotective. He was sure that Liam understood this too, so there was no way his friend would betray his trust. However, a few days later, Magri barged into his home in a hurry. Worry was etched all over his face as he called out for his sister. He then found her almost unclothed and crying. He frantically asked what had happened, and between sobs, she confessed that Liam had forced himself on her. Boiling with rage, Magri was about to leave and confront his friend when Mimi stopped him. She told him that she was angry too, but since Liam was so strong, they could not beat him even if they joined forces. Trying to calm him down, she hugged him and stated that she wanted them to carry out a plan to strike back at Liam and defeat him. Since Magri treated Liam as a good friend and benefactor, she worried that she would be the cause of their rift. However, Magri assured her that there was no one more important in the world to him than his little sister. He hugged Mimi tightly and swore that he would avenge her and slay Liam for defiling her honor. Liam was no longer his friend and benefactor but his sworn enemy. Little did he know, Mimi was smiling, obviously enjoying that she had successfully broken the two of them apart. At present, through gritted teeth, Magri reveals that he betrayed Liam because of what he did to his sister. He is full of anger, telling him that he can no longer be loyal to someone who is vicious and scum. However, all of this is news to Liam. He does not remember ever laying his hands on Mimi, nor did he ever intend to, since he has always seen her as nothing more than a rotten brat.